we're asking the court to do to really shore up this potential future issue.
Refresh my memory though. The appeal, the latest, not the appeal of the reinstatement, but the appeal / writ of prohibition request that you made this week to the Court of Appeals was tell the district court to stop because we have concerns about jurisdiction. And their response was, based on subsequent events, your motion is now moot. They did not say, am I correct? It's moot, and oh, by the way, start over because there was no jurisdiction for what you did before we filed this order.
That is true.
Okay. I just wanted to make that clear that I read the order appropriately. I think there's an inference there, although I'm much more happy with plain language than inference. But I think there was an inference there that the Court of Appeals agreed that there was jurisdiction because we did avoid the third-degree murder issue completely. I didn't even entertain argument or hearing, but we did go forward with jury selection. So, Mr. Nelson, what record would you like to make?
Your Honor, I would just simply note that at the time, we were not making a jurisdictional challenge. I thought that the court had jurisdiction as to the second degree and the manslaughter charges, and that the only question that lacked jurisdiction was the question of the third degree murder. So the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court have spoken, and I don't think there's any lack of clarity on that issue at this point. So I concur. We've proceeded on, I believe that the court had jurisdiction over 2 charges. It's no jurisdictional challenge other than on the third degree, which again is now resolved. So I, on behalf of my client, am confident in the decisions that this court has made thus far, both as to motions in limine as well as qualifications of jurors, and not seeking to restart the process.
Before we began on Monday, I think I even made the specific finding that I believe I have jurisdiction for everything outside of the third-degree murder, despite the state's arguments that it might affect other parts of the case. So I think we've made a sufficient record as far as that goes, but I'll make one more record. Unless the Court of Appeals thinks that I am intensely incorrigible, I did agree with some of their analysis in this case. And I ultimately did agree with their final ruling because I believe they have the inherent judicial authority to do so. But even if I had not agreed with any part of the analysis or did not believe or totally disagreed with their result, I acknowledge that it was a precedential opinion and law of the case, and I would have been duty-bound to follow it regardless of any misgivings that I have about the analysis. And like I said, I agree with their result, just not how they got there. And I'm not that incorrigible that I would completely ignore the Court of Appeals and their pronouncements. That being said, I think we're good until Monday as far as motions. Okay, I'm gonna let's do a break until 5 minutes, Sue. So 8:55, we'll see if we have the next juror and we'll proceed. Okay, apparently Mr. Schaefer says we do. All right, we're in recess until 8:55.
All right, there you heard the judge making a huge decision for this case for Derek Chauvin, the defense trying to prevent the reinstatement of a third-degree murder charge, of which he was originally charged back in May of last year. Prosecution trying to get that reinstated after new precedent came down in a different case, and all attempts have failed. So this judge says that the Court of Appeals established new law for third degree. It applies here for Derek Chauvin. The big news, he faces now second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter in the death of George Floyd. I want to bring in my guest, Mark Davis, joining me from California to break down all these arguments we heard. First of all, Mark, this is big news. How do you see this affecting jury selection in the trial moving forward?
Well, certainly there's a lot to unpack with regard to the judge's ruling. I was going to tell you before the judge came on the bench, it was my anticipation that he would reinstate the charge because, quite frankly, judges do not like to be reversed. And to have been reversed with specific instructions to follow this precedent basically tied the hands of the judge. Now, I thought Mr. Nelson did a very good job of trying to